guys? My name is Israel Miranda. I'm the founder and CEO of the TacoMan catering crew, and today we're going to talk about how to make tacos al pastor, adobada. Some people call it marinated pork. There's different names for it, but it's going to be the same thing. So there's going to be a couple of ingredients we're going to use. Basically, we're going to get an onion, tortillas, the meat, cilantro, a little bit of pineapple, and there's going to be a few ways that we'll make it where we're going to do the Mexican style and then American style, so you guys have options at home to either get one or the other, but they're both delicious. So let's get started. First step we're going to start with is some of the equipment that you're going to need to start making this tacos al pastor. You can use a typical, what we call it, a comal, or a flat panel grill. You can use something that doesn't have any type of edgings on the top. You want to keep it flat as possible so the meat cooks very good and kind of grilled. We're going to use an onion, you're going to need some pineapples, and obviously the meat. This is the meat that I'm going to teach on another episode on how to marinate the meat, but this one we're going to have it pre-marinated. It's a pork butt with a little bit of achote, some salt, a couple other spices that I already have all pre-used on that. Okay, we're going to start off with the first step with the onions, how to cut this onion equally as well. So you have both sides that are kind of flat on each side, and you have the middle still untouched. Then you're going to give it like a little slightly cut right down the middle, whichever side you feel comfortable doing, and you just grab on the side and peel it. These type of onions, there's a lot of time people like to dice up the onions in little squares. We're going to slice them in fajitas because I think they release a little more juices when they're a little bit bigger than smaller. Okay, the second step to this process is going to be the pineapple. You can either get yourself a big pineapple and dice it up in pieces, but it's going to be a little hard. If you want to keep it very simple and fast, get yourself a can of Dole. There's other brands of pineapple, and you want to get the chunks, the small little pieces of square. So this way you don't have to chop it up again. You kind of eliminate a step on that. So get yourself one of these cans, and you're going to dump it up on one of these, any type of container. You dump it on there, and you're going to wait till the last portion. Once you're finished cooking the meat, we're going to dump it in there with a little bit of oil, and it's going to grill together with the meat, and that's going to be part of the final step of the process. The next step we're going to do is we're going to get the meat ready. So the first thing you want to have is that grill that you're going to use, whether it's something like this or a comal, some flat panel grill, something that you might have at your house. It doesn't matter. You want to make sure that it's pre-warm, preheated. It gets very hot. Once you drop a little bit of oil, you're going to see the difference. It's going to start kind of bubbling up. You'll see the smoke coming out. That's how you know that the grill's ready to go. You might want to sprinkle a little bit of salt or garlic salt, just a little bit, just to give it a little flavor. And then from there, we're going to get the meat, which is AlPastor meat right here. It's already pre-marinated. We're going to drop in. You're going to hear the seasoning once it touches the grill. That's how you know it has to be super hot, because the hotter it gets, it gets more burnt, and this flavor comes out of that. So, see? As soon as you drop the meat, you hear it sizzling on the grill. That's exactly what you want to hear. As soon as it starts cooking, you're going to see something like that. See all that black part? That's what we want to get. We want to get all that dark part. That's the burn part. That's actually where all the flavor comes out. You want the meat to kind of look something like that. Spread it out very flat, because sometimes meat can be on top of that and it's not going to cook evenly, so you want to spread it out very flat. You cook about, I want to say about 2 minutes on one side and 2 minutes, and you kind of start flipping on the other side, and you get an even cook on both sides. You don't want to burn it to where it's completely burned, but you do want to get it really grilled. Al pastor pork meat, I know I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but you have to make sure that it's really good and cooked, because you can get sick from it. There's a lot of toxins. You want to make sure that all that stuff is taken out with the temperature of the grill. That's why I tend to say you want to keep it very hot. You can still see how all that black stuff is on there. This is what you want. You want your meat to look like that. Reddish, black, and you want all this burnt stuff is exactly what the flavor of the AlPastor is. It smells really good, really good. You'll be able to sense the smell once it's cooked, because the smell tastes more like it just smells like that achote flavor, and the pork it starts smelling once it starts getting really cooked. So you see the meat almost done. What we're gonna do is gonna be step number 2 right here. We're gonna get the onions that we kind of cut before, and we're gonna dump them on this side. Make sure you want to separate the meat from the onions. Okay, so you keep the onions on this side. Along with the onions, what you want to do is you want to dump a little bit of oil, not too much, just enough to where the onions start kind of grilling. You want to use the oil from there on the grill, and they're going to start grilling. Smash them down a little bit. Make sure that they're all on the grill. You want to make sure that they're kind of cooked before you mix them up. This is what you want. You want this type of reddish, burnt flavor. You don't want it to be too dark or too light. Too light means that it's not cooked. You want to make sure that it's dark. The darker it is, the better. And like I said, al pastor is one of the meats that you have to be extra grilled to get that extra flavor. So once you see the grilled onions, you know, starting to come to effect, it's starting to turn red. You might get a little bit of burnt stuff in there, but like I said, this stuff right here is what gives it the flavor. You want to keep all that stuff in there. You want to mix it all in between. Okay, the last and final step we're going to do is we're going to get the pineapples that we had earlier, and you want to make sure that there's not that many juices on there, so you just grab them, put them on here, and you want to make sure that you separate it from the meat. You don't want to cook it with the meat yet. Okay, we're just going to be like a topping on top, but you want the pineapple to grill on there with the juices from the onion and the meat, so it gives it a little flavor. So it's not all pineapple. You're getting the al pastor flavor in the pineapple. These pineapples have to kind of get dark too, just like the meat. Okay guys, another key ingredient to this taco and the finalized step is going to be the tortilla. You want to put a little bit, just dip it in on the corner of the tortilla. Kind of turn it around so you get a little bit of oil on there. Not too much, not too little. You don't want to soak it in there because then it's going to be just way too much oil. You put it down, rub a little circle on there so you get a little bit of the grease from there, and drop it down. You have your meat cooking still, it's waiting for you. And make sure that it doesn't get too burnt. You want to keep the flame kind of low. Smash the tortilla down, and you flip, and flip, get the meat, and you want to make sure you get some onions in there, man. And remember, I told you that's going to be really key. Don't put too much, not too little. And what I'm doing, I'm going to break down the condiments. We're going to use the pineapple till the end, okay? So you're going to wait that we leave it on there. You're going to put onion and cilantro, a little bit, not too much. Okay, and then you want to put a couple of limes on there. Maybe you want to squeeze one or two, depending how much lime you have. So squeeze the lime on top. And then the extra topping that I kind of added to that, which I think you guys will love, is going to be cabbage. Man, cabbage gives it a little bit of crunch. So you sprinkle a little bit of cabbage on top, maybe as much or a little bit less than the cilantro and onion. So you have something similar like that. It's kind of spread out. Do the salsa. You can do salsa roja, salsa verde. I have a little bit of green salsa right here. You know, I don't know how much you guys, I love salsa, so I put a lot, but you know, just measure it upon how much you guys eat salsa. Okay, so we got our taco kind of prep. We put a little bit of condiments on there. You know, it looks kind of like what the typical Mexican style looks like, but the key ingredient to that is going to be the pineapple, man. I can't stress how important this is. You have the pineapple that's already been grilling for a couple of minutes with al pastor machine, so it grabs the flavor on there. You want to do just sprinkle a little bit, man, not too much, just enough till you get the flavor of the pineapple on there. And like I said, once it's been grilling for a while, it's not going to taste too much like pineapple. It is just a little bit of hint, but you're going to taste the al pastor in there. So it's going to look something like that. That's going to be your finalized product. This is exactly what you want to get. You know, you got the pineapple, the pork, a little bit of onion, a little bit of cilantro, cabbage, some lime, and a little bit of salsa, so you get a mixture of everything. And that's going to be your final product, man. I'm going to try the taco, see how bomb it comes out. Totally double tortilla is always good because it doesn't rip. Just take a bite, man. You saw the process that we had. It takes about maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and you got a final product. That was the taco al pastor. If you want to check us out later, go on our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our website at www.thetacoman.com. You can also call us up at 909-815-0775 or email us at www.thetacomancatering@yahoo.com. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and it was helpful for you guys and for your friends. You guys can bring this bomb taco to your house. See you guys later.